Good evening once again, football fans. Big Al here on this late Tuesday night, January 2nd. If you're on the East Coast, it's already Wednesday. And I want to welcome you back to week 17 of the week that was, part 2, where we'll be looking at the 4 remaining early games from Sunday, plus all 3 late games and Sunday night football. Also coming up, my week 18 power rankings and the updated playoff races going into the final week of the season. Part 1 is already up, where we looked at the 6 of the 10 early games from Sunday. We also had the Cowboys-Lions game from Saturday and the Jets-Browns game from Thursday. That video is up right now. If you want to circle back this one and watch that first, be my guest. Let's start off with the Buffalo Bills beating the New England Patriots 27-21. Buffalo is now 10-6, while the Patriots are 4-12, and there's some interesting scenarios for the Buffalo Bills going into Week 18 and their big AFC East battle with the Miami Dolphins on Sunday night. It's possible that the Bills could win the division and lock up the number 2 seed in the conference, and it's a possibility that the Bills will miss the playoffs altogether. More on that later. All right, individual numbers for the Buffalo Bills. There we go. Josh Allen, 15 of 30, 169 touchdowns, 1 interception, 53.3 passer rating. James Cook, 16 for 48 yards, 3 per rush. Josh Allen, 11 for 44 and 2 touchdowns, 4 per rush. Johnson, 5 for 22 on 4.4. Shakir, 1 rush, 10 yards. Diggs, 1 rush, 5 yards. Murray, 1 rush, no yards. And Allen, the other one, 2 for -2. Leading receivers were Dalton Kincaid, 4 for 87 yards, 7 targets, 21.8 per catch. Shakir for 39 on 4 targets, 9.8 per catch. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 26 on 7 targets, 6.5 per catch. Gabe Davis, 2 for 21 on 3 targets, 10.5 per catch. 3 targets for Sherfield, 1 target for Murray, no catches for neither. James Cook, 1 catch on 3 targets for -4. Tyler Bass, 2 for 2 on field goals. Long was 35, 3 for 3 on extra points. Martin, 6 punts at 48.2 per punt, 53 assists on with 6 punts inside the 20-yard line. Jordan Poyer with 8 tackles. Bernard, 8 tackles, 2 sacks. Dotson, 4 tackles. Benford, 3 tackles, 1 forced fumble. Johnson, 3 tackles. Micah Hyde, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense. Leonard Floyd, 2 tackles. Ed Oliver, 2 tackles, a sack, a pass defense, and an interception. Rasul Douglas, 1 tackle, 3 passes defense, 2 interceptions, 1 of which was returned for a touchdown for the Bills. For New England, Bailey Zappi, 16 of 26, 209 yards, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 47.3 passer rating. Ezekiel Elliott led the Patriots on the ground with 14 rushes, 39 yards, and a touchdown, 2.8 per run. Zappi, 5 for 37 and a touchdown on 7.4. Harris, 2 for 15 on 7.5. And Douglas, 3 for 12 on 4 yards per run. Harris, 2 catches, 54 yards, 2 targets at 27 per catch. Jalen Reagor, 1 catch, 39 yards on 3 targets, 39 per catch. Mike Gesicki, 4 for 35 yards on 6 targets, 8.8. Mario Douglas, 3 for 41 on 5 targets, 10.3. Thornton, 3 for 24 on 3 targets at 8 per catch. Devontae Parker, 1 for 15 on 2 targets. Ezekiel Elliott, 1 for 6 yards on 2 targets. Brown, 1 catch, 5 yards, only target. Chad Ryland, 0 for 1 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. Behringer, 4 punts for 44 yards, average. 57 is long, 1 punt inside the 20. Cal defense let the Patriots D. Bentley, 5 tackles, likewise for Jennings, 4 tackles for Tavai, 3 tackles for both Barmore and Guy. Jones, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Bryant's 3 tackles. Uche had 2 tackles. Wise, 2 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Austin, 2 tackles, 1 pass defense, and an interception. Total yards were 294 for the Patriots, 281 for the Bills. Passing yards, 191 to 154 for New England. Rushing yards is 127 to 103 for Buffalo. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 52 seconds for the Bills, 27 minutes, 8 seconds for the Pats. First downs, 19 Buffalo and 16 for New England. The Patriots were 4 for 10 on third down. The Bills were 7 for 15. No fourth down plays by either team. 2 penalties, 20 yards for the New England Patriots. 3 sacks taken for 18. 1 lost fumble, 3 interceptions, 4 punts. 4 penalties, 32 yards for the Buffalo Bills. 1 sack taken for 15. No lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 6 punts. Closing line in this game was Buffalo minus 15, over under was 40. I took the Patriots with the points and the Bills straight up. So now I'm 7-2 straight up, 8-1 ATS. Moving on to the NFC South divisional game with the Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All the Bucs had to do was beat the Saints, and the division was theirs. Only one problem. Tampa Bay loses the game 23-13. As both teams sit atop the division at 8-8, both with a shot at the division title next week. Individual numbers for the Saints. Derek Carr, 24-32 for 197 with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Really? And a quarterback rating of 111.1. Taysom Hill, 1 for 2 yards on 1 for 2 for 11 yards and 6.7 QB rating. Williams, 19 rushes, 58 yards, 3.1 per run. Alvin Kamara, 10 for 45 on 4.5. Prentice, 1 rush, 7 yards. Taysom Hill, 2 rushes, 1 yard. Derek Carr, 3 rushes for -3. Johnson led the Saints with 8 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown on 12 targets, 11.3 per catch. Taysom Hill, 2 for 30 yards and a touchdown on 2 targets, 15 per catch. Chris Olave held to 26 yards on 3 targets, or 26 yards on 3 catches on 6 targets, and 8.7 yards per catch. Rashid Shaheed, 2 for 14 yards on 3 targets at 7 per catch. Moreau, 1 for 13 on his only target. Williams, 4 for 13 on 4 targets at 3.3. Prentice, 1 catch, 7 yards on his only target. Bowden, 1 catch, 6 yards on his only target. Perry, 1 for 5 yards on 2 targets at 5 yards per catch. Alvin Kamara, 2 catches, 4 yards on 2 targets at 2 yards per catch. Group B, 3 for 3 on field goals. 45 was his longest. 2 for 2 on extra points. Headley, 6 punts at 44.7 per punt. Longest was 51, 3 punts inside the 20. Warner led the Saints defense with 8 tackles. Abram, 5 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass defense, 1 interception. Bond, 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass defense. Matthew, 3 tackles. Adebo, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Taylor, 3 tackles, a pass defense, and an interception. And Saunders, 2 tackles. Brees, 1 tackle, 1 sack for the Saints. Let me back up because I got the numbers for Tampa. Baker Mayfield, 22 of 33, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 91.6 passer rating. Rashad White, 11 rushes, 42 yards, 3.8. Chase Edmonds, 3 for 16 yards on 5.3. Baker Mayfield, 1 rush, -1 yard. Let's see. All right, Trey Palmer. That's what that is. Trey Palmer, 4 for 84 yards and a touchdown on 5 targets, 21 yards per catch. Chris Godwin, 3 for 81 and a touchdown on 5 targets, 27 per catch. Mike Evans, 3 for 70 yards on 4 targets, 23.3 per catch. Chase Edmonds, 5 for 40 yards on 6 targets at 8 per grab. Rashad White, 4 for 24 on 4 targets at 6. Cade Otton, 2 for 10 yards on 6 targets at 5 per grab. Tompkins, 2 targets, 1 catch, no yards. And I think that's David Moore. Not DJ Moore, but David Moore. 1 target, no catches. No field goals attempted for Chase McLaughlin. 1 for 1 on extra points. Camarda, 5 punts, 41.4 yards average, 51 is long, 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Levante David, McCollum, and Winfield all have 5 tackles, leading the Tampa Bay defense. White added pass defense. Vita Vea with 3 tackles. Nelson, 3 tackles and a pass defense. Merriweather and Cansey with 3 tackles apiece. Golston, 2 tackles. Watts, 2 tackles and a sack. Diaby, 2 tackles for the Bucs. Total yards, 349 Tampa Bay, 310 New Orleans. Passing yards, 292 to 202 Tampa Bay. Rushing yards, 108 to 57 New Orleans. Time of possession, 36 minutes, 38 seconds for the Saints. 23 minutes, 22 seconds for the Bucs. First downs, 20 for the Saints and 13 for the Buccaneers. New Orleans, 8 of 18 on 3rd downs with no 4th down attempts. Tampa Bay, 2 for 8 on 3rd down and 1 for 1 on 4th down. 5 penalties, 31 yards for the Saints. 1 sack taken for 6. No lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 6 punts. 5 penalties, 38 yards for the Buccaneers. 2 sacks taken for 17. A couple lost fumbles, a couple interceptions, and 5 punts. Closing line, Tampa Bay minus 2.5, over under is 42. I picked the Bucs both ways and lost both picks. So straight up, I'm 7-3. ATS, I'm 8-2. Not the most dominant performance for the San Francisco 49ers, but they do get the job done as they beat the Washington Commanders 27-10 and clinched the top seed in the NFC with a 12-4 record. Washington, on the other hand, fell to 4-12. Individual numbers for the 49ers. Brock Purdy, 22 of 28, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 124.7 passer rating. Mitchell, 17 for 80 yards and a touchdown on 4.7. Christian McCaffrey, 14 for 64 yards on 4.6 per run. Deebo Samuel, 3 for 35 on 11.7. Brock Purdy, 1 rush, 4 yards. Mason, 2 for 3 yards. Darnold, 2 rushes, minus 2 yards. Brandon Ayuk led the Niners receivers with 7 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets, 16.3 yards per catch. Deebo Samuel, 5 for 37 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 7.4 per catch. George Kittle, 3 for 29 on 4 targets, 9.7 per catch. Christian McCaffrey, 4 for 27 on 5 targets, 6.8 per catch. Kyle Juszczyk, 3 for 23 yards on 3 targets, 7.7 per catch. 1 target for Bell, no catches. Jake Moody, 2 for 2 on field goals, 38 was long, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Wisnowski, 2 punts at 38 per punt. Long was 40, both punts inside the 20-yard line. Dre Greenlaw led the San Francisco defense with 6 tackles. Ward, 3 tackles, 1 pass defense, 1 interception. Warner, 2 tackles. Ryan, 2 tackles. Bosa, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Lenore, 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, and an INT. Gibson, 2 tackles, and Farrell, 1 tackle and 1 sack for the Niners. As for the Washington Commanders, Sam Howell, 17 of 28 for 169 with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions and a 60 QB rating. Not good. Robinson, 9 rushes, 44 yards on 4.9. Gibson, 4 for 19 rather on 4.8. Howell, 1 rush for -1. Terry McLaurin, 4 catches, 61 yards on 6 targets and a touchdown on 15.3 per catch. Curtis Samuel, 3 for 33 on 4 targets, 11 per catch. Robinson, 4 for 32 on 4 targets at 8 per catch. Logan Thomas, 3 for 20 on 4 targets at 6.7 per catch. Antonio Gibson, 2 for 17 on 4 targets, 8.5 per catch. Bates, 1 catch, 6 yards, 2 targets. A target each for Dotson and Pringle, and no catches. Joey Sly, 1 for 1 on field goals. His long was 47. 1 for 1 on extra points. Tress Way, 3 punts, 52 yards per punt. 55 is his long. 1 punt inside the 20. Barton led Washington's defense with 6 tackles. Mayo, 6 tackles. Hudson, 4 tackles. Forbes, 4 tackles, 2 passes defense. Henry, 3 tackles. Allen, 2 tackles. Smith Williams with 2 tackles, as well as Toohill and Martin and Castro Fields. Total yards, 49ers with 408 yards, Commanders 225. Passing yards, 224 to 163 for the Niners. Rushing is also in favor of the Niners, 184 to 62. That's near a 3-1 clip. Time of possession, 38 minutes, 13 seconds for San Francisco, 21 minutes, 47 seconds for Washington. First downs are more than 2-1 to the Niners, 28 to 12. The Niners finished 4 for 9 on 3rd down. The Commanders 3 for 9. Both teams 1 on 4th down. 3 penalties, 20 yards for the San Francisco. 1 sack taken for 6. No lost fumbles, no interceptions, 2 punts. 5 penalties, 40 yards for the Washington Commanders. 1 sack taken for 6. No lost fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 3. Closing line was San Francisco -14. The over-under was 49. I took the Niners both ways, won both picks. 8-3 straight up, 9-2. Moving right along to the final early game from Sunday, the Houston Texans hammered the Tennessee Titans 26-3. Houston still alive in the wild card race and in the NFC South race at 9-7. The Titans in last place in that division is 5-11. Individual numbers for the Texans. C.J. Stroud back after missing 2 games in concussion protocol. 24-32 for 213 with 1 touchdown and no interceptions. QB rating of 102.7. Devin Singletary, 16 for 80 yards on 5 yards per run. Pierce, 8 rushes, 16 yards on 2 per run. Collins, 1 rush. Mechie, 1 rush, 4 yards. Stroud, 1 rush, 4 yards. Agunwale, 1 rush for no yards. Nico Collins led the Texans receivers, 7 catches, 80 yards on 8 targets, 11.4 per catch. Robert Woods, 4 for 58 on 4 targets at 14.5. Dalton Schultz, 2 for 19 on 4 targets at 9.5. Jordan, 2 for 19 yards and a touchdown on 2 targets, 9.5 as well. Mechie, 1 catch, 8 yards on 3 targets. Hutchinson, 2 catches, 8 yards on 3 targets. That's 4 per catch. Brown, 1 catch, 8 yards, 2 targets. Singletary, 3 for 6 on 3 targets per catch. Pierce, 1 for 5 yards on his only target. Salbert on his only target. Fairbairn, 4 for 4 on field goals. Long was 51. 2 for 2 on extra points. Johnston, 3 punts, 51.7 average. Long was 54. 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Stingley led the Houston defense with 4 tackles. King, Petrie, Harris, and Houston Carlson with 3 tackles apiece. King added 1 pass defense. Harris, 2 passes defense. Davis and Nelson, 2 tackles. Sheldon Rankins, 2 tackles, 1 sack. Will Anderson, 2 tackles, 2 sacks for the Texans. For the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis, 2 for 6, 16 yards, no touchdowns or INTs, 42.4 QB rating. Ryan Tannehill, 16 of 20 for 168, no touchdowns, no INTs, and a 101.7 passer rating. Derrick Henry, 12 rushes, 42 yards, 3.5 per run. Ward, 3 for 11 on 3.7. Tajay Spears, 6 rushes, no yards. Leading receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, 7 for 72 yards on 7 targets, 10.3 per catch. Okonkwo, 3 for 34 yards on 4 targets, 11.3 per catch. Moore with 1 catch for 32 yards on 3 targets. Tajay Spears, 4 for 29 on 6 targets, 7.3 per catch. Treylon Burks, 2 for 11 on 3 targets, 5.5 per catch. Raider, 1 catch, 6 yards, 1 target. Derrick Henry had 1 target, but no catches. Nick Folk, 1 for 1 on field goals. His long was 53 and no extra points. Zettner, 5 punts, 49.6. Long was 64, 2 punts inside the 20. Wallace led the Tennessee defense with 7 tackles. Molden, 6 tackles and a forced fumble. McCreary, 6 tackles. Reese with 4 tackles. Landry, 3 tackles and a sack. Alshey, Colburn, Davidson, and Guerrer each with 2 tackles for the Titans. Total yards, 312 for the Texans, 187 for the Titans. Passing yards were 201 to 134 in favor of Houston. Rush yards for 111 to 53, also in favor of Houston. Same with time of possession, 33 minutes, 11 seconds for the Texans, 26 minutes, 49 seconds for the Titans. Houston also had the edge in first downs, 20 versus Tennessee's 11. Neither team was good on third down. 1 for 12 for the Titans, 3 for 11 for the Texans. Fourth down, Tennessee 2 for 4, Houston no fourth downs. 3 penalties, 15 yards for the Titans, 6 sacks taken for 3 yards, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 5 punts. 1 penalty, 6 yards for the Texans, 1 sack taken for 12, no fumbles lost, no interceptions, and 3 punts. Closing line, Houston -5, over under is 44. Took the Texans both straight up and against the spread. I am now 9-3 and 10-2 flee. All right, now we can move on to the late game, starting off with the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Seattle Seahawks 30-23. So ho hum, another winning season for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 9-7 on the season, keep their playoff hopes alive in the AFC. Meanwhile, for the Seahawks, their playoff chances take a hit as they drop back to 8-8. Individual numbers for the Steelers. Mason Rudolph, 18-24, 274 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, at a 112.2 passer rating. Najee Harris, workhorse type numbers. 27 rushes for 122 and 2 touchdowns on 4.5 per run. Jaylen Warren, 13 for 75 and a touchdown on 5.8. Mason Rudolph, 6 rushes, 5 yards. George Pickens, 7 catches, 131 yards, 9 targets, and 18.7 per catch. Deontay Johnson, 4 catches, 70 yards on 4 targets, 19 per grab. Pat Freiermuth, 3 for 44 yards on 4 targets at 14.7. And Jaylen Warren, 4 catches, 23 yards on 4 targets, 5.8 yards per catch. Chris Boswell, 3 for 3 on field goals, 39 was his long, 3 for 3 on extra points. Harvin, just 1 punt for 46 yards, and it went inside the 20-yard line. Rowe led the Steelers' defense with 9 tackles. Miles Jack, 7 tackles. 3 tackles each for Killebrew and Peterson. And then you have a host of players with 1 tackle. including Ogunjobi, T.J. Watt, Sullivan, Riley, Robinson, Pickens, and Herbig. Herbig added a sack and a forced fumble. Sullivan added a pass defense. For the Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith, 23 of 33, 290 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, key rating of 106.9. Kenneth Walker III, or K9, 10 for 53 yards and a touchdown, 5.3 yards per run. Geno Smith, 3 for 33 on 11 per tote. Charbonnet, 2 rushes, 2 yards. DK Metcalf led Seattle's receivers with 5 catches, 106 yards, 8 targets, 1.2 average. Noah Fant, 5 for 59 on 6 targets, 11.8 average. Zach Charbonnet, 5 for 39 on 5 targets, 7.8 per catch. Parkinson, 2 for 38 on 3 targets, 19 per catch. Kenneth Walker III, K9, had 3 catches for 22 yards on 3 targets at 7.3 per catch. Jackson, this is the punter. He caught a pass for 21 yards on his own target. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 1 catch, 12 yards. He made it for a touchdown. He was targeted twice. Tyler Lockett, 1 catch, 10 yards on 5 targets at 10 per catch, obviously. And Bobo, 4 yards on his only target. Jason Myers, 3 for 3. Long, 3 for 3 field goals. Long was 43, 2 for 2 extra points. Dixon, who caught a pass in this game, had 3 punts for 53 on average. 66 was his longest, 2 touchbacks. Julian Love, tackles, 1 forced fumble, led the Seahawks defense. Bush with 5 tackles. Bobby Wagner, 4 tackles. Michael Jackson, 4 tackles. Williams and Witherspoon, 3 tackles. Williams added a sack. And Hall with 2 tackles. Diggs and Mafe, a tackle and a pass defense each. All right, total yards, 468 for the Steelers, 369 for the Seahawks. Passing yards, 281 to 266 Seattle. Rushing yards, 202 to 88 Pittsburgh. Time of possession, Steelers 37 minutes, 33 seconds. Seahawks 22 minutes, 27 seconds. First downs, 25 for the Steelers and 17 for the Seahawks. The Steelers finished 6 of 13 on 3rd down, 2 of 3 on 4th down, while the Seahawks 3 of 9 on 3rd down and no 4th down attempts. Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 penalties, 10 yards, 1 sack taken for 8 yards, no lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 1 punt. Seattle Seahawks, 4 penalties, 25 yards, 1 sack taken for 9, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 3 punts. Closing line, Seattle minus 4.5. Over under is 40. I took the Steelers both ways. No, I took the Seahawks both ways and lost. My straight up record, 10-3 is my ATS record at this point. Eight and counting. The Kansas City Chiefs won their 8th straight AFC West championship by defeating the injury-riddled Cincinnati Bengals 25-17. Kansas City improves to 10-6, and we now know they are locked into the number 3 seed, no matter what happens. And the Cincinnati Bengals are out of the playoff picture despite their 8-8 record. Individual numbers for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, 21 of 29, 245 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and a 109.1 passer rating. Isaiah Pacheco, 18 for 130 and 7.2 yards per run. Patrick Mahomes, 4 rushes, 2 yards. Rice led the Chiefs receivers, 5 catches, 127 on 6 targets, 25.4 yards per catch. Watson, 1 catch, 41 yards on 3 targets. Pacheco, 7 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets at 5 per catch. Noah Gray, 3 for 17 on 4 targets at 5.7. Travis Kelce, once again, a no-show, 3 catches, 16 yards on 4 targets, 5.3 per catch. James, 1 catch, 6 yards on his only target. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 1 catch, 3 yards on 3 targets. 1 target for P. Ryan, no catches. Harrison Butker, 6 for 6 on field goals. 54 was his longest. 1 for 1 on extra points. Tommy Townsend, 1 punt for 57 yards. That 1 punt landed inside the 20-yard line. Nick Bolton led the Kansas City defense with 9 tackles and a pass defense. Reed, 7 tackles. Trent McDuffie, 5 tackles. George Karlaftis, 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Willie Gay, 4 tackles. Omenahue, 3 tackles, half a sack, and a pass defense. Shano, 3 tackles. Lajaris Sneed, 2 tackles and a pass defense. Nandi, Connor, and Dana, 2 tackles each for the Chiefs. Jake Browning for the Bengals, 19 of 33 for 197 yards with 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and an 85 passer rating. Joe Mixon, 21 for 65 yards, 3.1 per tote. Jake Browning, 7 for 32 and a rushing touchdown, 4.6 per run. Brown, 3 for 5 yards, 1.7. Williams, 1 rush for 2 yards. Jamar Chase, 3 catches, 41 yards, 7 targets, 13.7 per catch. Hudson, 3 for 38 yards, 7 targets, 12.7 per catch. Tyler Boyd, 2 for 29 on 2 targets, 14.5 per catch. Brown, 2 for 23 on 2 targets, 11.5 per catch. Joe Mixon, 4 for 22 and a touchdown on 4 targets, 5.5 per catch. Drew Sample, 3 for 21 yards, 4 targets, 7 per catch. T. Higgins, 1 catch, 19 yards on 2 targets. Irwin, 1 catch, 4 yards on 2 targets. Wilcox, 1 target, no catches. Evan McPherson, 1 for 1 on field goals. Only attempt was 34 yards. 2 for 2 on extra points. Robbins, 4 punts, 47.5 average, 53 was his longest, 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Meanwhile, Battle led the Cincinnati defense with 6 tackles. Dax Hill had 5 tackles. Hilton, 4 tackles and a sack. Awuzie, 4 tackles. Hubbard, 3 tackles. Wilson, 2 tackles. Hill, 2 tackles. Carter and Taylor Britt with 2 tackles. Taylor Britt also added a pass defense for the Bengals. Total yards, Chiefs 373, Bengals 263. Passing yards, 241 to 159 for the Chiefs. Rushing yards, 132, 104 also for the Chiefs. Time of possession was 34 minutes, 17 seconds for Cincinnati, 25 minutes, 43 seconds for Kansas City. The Bengals also had the edge in first downs, 20 to the Chiefs 15. Cincinnati was 8 of 16 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down. Kansas City, 3 of 12 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down. 3 penalties and 20 yards for the Bengals, 6 sacks taken for 38, no lost fumbles, no interceptions, and 4 punts. 3 penalties, 39 yards for the Kansas City Chiefs, 2 sacks taken for 4, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 4 punts. Or rather, was that right? 4 punts or 1? 1 punt. They had 1 punt. Close line was Kansas City -7, and the over-under was 45.5. I picked the Chiefs straight up, but took Cincinnati with the points. So I'm 10-4 both ways. Final Sunday afternoon game sees the Denver Broncos win 16-9 over the Los Angeles Chargers, their second week against the Bolts in 3 weeks. Despite that, Denver is eliminated from playoff contention at 8-8 despite the win, while the Chargers sit at the bottom of the AFC West at 5-11. Individual numbers for the Broncos. Jarrett Stidham in 40 now benched Russell Wilson. 20 of 32, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 93.8 passer rating. Let's see what Jaleel. I remember that name. Jaleel McLaughlin, 8 rushes, 44 yards on 5.5 per tote. Williams, 15 for 41 on 2.7. Samaje Perine, 4 for 10 on 2.5. Stidham, 6 rushes, 6 yards. Humphrey, 2 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets, 34.5 per catch. Jerry Jeudy, 3 for 54 yards on 6 targets, 18 per catch. Johnson, 4 for 27 on 6 targets, 6.8 per catch. Jaleel McLaughlin, 3 for 18 on 3 targets, 6 per catch. Williams, 3 for 17 on 3 targets, 5.7 a catch. Perine, 2 for 16 on 2 targets, 8 per catch. Kroll, 2 for 14 yards on 2 targets, 7 per catch. Troutman, 1 for 9 yards on 2 targets. Dorsett, 2 targets, but no catches. Will Lutz, 3 for 4 on field goals. Long was 43, 1 for 1 on extra points. Dixon, 5 punts at 48.6 average. Long was 63, 1 touchback, 3 inside the 20. Singleton led Denver's defense with 7 tackles. Simmons, 6 tackles. Locke, 5 tackles in a pass defense. Surtain, 4 tackles in a pass defense. Moreau, 4 tackles. Sanders, 3 tackles. Perkins, 3 tackles. Jewell, 2 tackles. Jones, 2 tackles and a forced fumble. Purcell and McMillan, 2 tackles apiece. Moving on to the Chargers, Easton Stick. 24 of 38, 220 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 78.8 passer rating. Austin Eckler, pretty much a non-factor, 13 for 46 at 3.5 per run. Easton Stick, 5 for 31 on 6.2. Gerald Everett, 1 for 6 yards. Kelly, 2 for 2 yards. Davis, 1 for 2 yards. Neiman, 1 for no yards. And Spiller, 1 rush for -1 yard. Erickson led the Chargers receivers, 7 catches, 98 yards, 8 targets, 14 per catch. Gerald Everett, 4 for 31 on 9 targets, 7.8. Johnston, 3 for 29 on 6 targets, 9.7 per catch. Dawes, 5 for 25 on 8 targets at 5 per catch. Smart, 2 for 23 on 2 targets, 11.5 per catch. Can't talk tonight. Spiller, 2 catches, 10 yards, 2 targets on 5 per catch. And Austin Eckler, again, non-factor, 1 catch, 4 yards on 2 targets. Cameron Dicker, 3 of 4 on extra points. Long was 52, no extra points. Scott, 4 punts, 46-yard average, 61 his long, 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. James paced the Chargers with 7 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 passes defense. Demon, 6 tackles. Kendricks, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Khalil Mack, 5 tackles and a sack. Davis, 5 tackles. Ogbania, 2 tackles. Hanley, 2. Pelotu, Hollins, and Fox with a tackle each. Bassey also with a tackle and a pass defense for the Los Angeles Chargers. Total yards nearly split down the middle, 313 for the Broncos, 301 for the Chargers. Passing yards, same deal, nearly split, 215 for the Chargers, 212 for the Broncos. Rush yards favored Denver, 101 to 86. Time of possession, Broncos 33 minutes, 46 seconds. Chargers 26 minutes, 14 seconds. First downs favored LA, 17 to 16. Chargers 2 of 11 on 3rd down, 1 for 2 on 4th down. Broncos 7 of 17 on 3rd down, 1 for 1 on 4th down. 3 penalties, 48 yards for the Chargers, 1 sack taken for 5, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, 4 punts. 7 penalties, 49 yards for the Broncos, 2 sacks taken for 12, no lost fumbles, no interceptions thrown, 5 punts. Closing line, Denver -3.5, over under is 39. I took the Broncos both ways. and won both picks. So now I'm 11-4, both straight up and against the spread. And we wrap up 17's review with Sunday Night Football as the Green Bay Packers stomped the Minnesota Vikings 33-10. The Packers still have a shot at the playoffs at 8-8. In fact, they would be in the number 7 spot in the NFC as of right now. Big blow to the playoff hopes for the Minnesota Vikings. They are now 7-9. Individual numbers first for the Packers. Jordan Love, 24-33, 256 with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a 125.3 passer rating. And then you got the backup, Sean Clifford, 1 for 1 for 37 yards, 8.8 QB rating. Aaron Jones, 20 rushes, 120 yards. That's exactly 6 yards per tote. Taylor, 8 for 30 yards on 3.8. A.J. Dillon, 7 for 27 on 3.9. Jordan Love, 2 rushes, 2 yards, 1 touchdown. Sean Clifford, 2 for -2 yards. Okay, Milton led the receiving corps for Green Bay. 6 catches, 105 and a touchdown on 9 targets, 17.5 per catch. This is where I got hung up last time. Jaden Reed. 6 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets, 14.8 per catch. Tyler Kraft, 6 for 48 yards on 6 targets, 8 per catch. Romeo Doubs, 3 for 28 on 6 targets, 9.3. Heath, 1 catch, 13 yards on 2 targets. Aaron Jones, 1 for 10 yards on his only target. Sims, 1 for 6 on his only target. Torrey, 1 catch, -6 yards on his only target. Anders Carlson, 2 for 2 on field goals, long was 37, and 3 for 4 on extra points. Whelan, 2 punts for 49.5 average, 54 his longest. All right, Nixon led the Packers defense, 7 tackles, half a sack, and a pass defense. Valentine had a pretty big night, 4 tackles, 3 passes defense, and an interception. Wilson with 3 tackles, Owens 3 tackles and a pass defense. Walker 2 tackles and a sack. Valentine 1 tackle. McDuffie 1 tackle, half a sack, and 1 pass defense for the Cheeseheads. Over to the Minnesota Vikings. Jaron Hall, the 4th Minnesota starter this season. 5 of 10 for 67 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, and a very poor QB rating of 32.1. He'll be replaced by Nick Mullins. 13 of 22, 113, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 87.9 passer rating. Chandler, 10 rushes, 40 yards on 4 yards per run is Ty Chandler. Alexander Madison, 3 for 17 yards, 5.7 per run. Mullins, 1 rush, 6 yards. Hall, 2 rushes, 4 yards. Justin Jefferson, 5 catches, 59 yards, 10 targets, 11.8 yards per catch. Okay, let's see what this is. Johnny Munt, backup tight end. 4 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown on 7 targets, 9.8 per catch. Addison, 3 for 28 yards on 5 targets, 9.3 per catch. Ty Chandler, 3 for 24 on 3 targets, 8 per catch. Oliver, 1 catch, 17 yards, 2 targets. Matheson, 2 for 13 on 2 targets at 6.5. Powell was targeted twice, no catches. Greg Joseph for 1 on field goals, only attempt from 54, and 1 for 1 on extra points. And Wright, 4 tackles, or rather 4 punts, 51.3 average, 68 his longest, 1 touchback, 1 inside the 20. Metellus led the Vikings defense with 6 tackles. Pace, Bynum, Jones, and Evans had 5 tackles apiece. Blackman, 4 tackles. Smith, 3 tackles. Tonga, 2 tackles. Phillips, 1 tackle, and 1 pass defense for the Vikings. Total yards, 470 for the Pack, 211 for the Vikings. Passing yards, Green Bay 293, Minnesota 144. Rush yards, Green Bay 177, Minnesota 67. Time of possession, 37 minutes, 32 seconds for the Packers, 22 minutes, 28 seconds for the Vikings. First downs, more than 2-1 to Green Bay, 28-13. Packers 9 of 14 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Vikings 3 for 10 on third down, 0 for 2 on fourth down. 4 penalties, 32 yards for the Green Bay Packers. No sacks taken, 1 lost fumble, no interceptions, and 2 punts. 6 penalties, 27 yards for the Minnesota Vikings. 4 sacks taken for 36. 1 lost fumble, 1 interception thrown, 4 punts. Closing line was a pick'em, and the over-under was 42. I did take Minnesota straight up in against the spread. So for week 17, I finished 11-5 in my straight picks and 11-5 in my picks against the spread. We'll look at the playoff races in just a moment, but first, my Week 18 power rankings. Starting at the bottom and working our way up. No change for the Carolina Panthers at number 32. They are 2-14, and they close the regular season hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No change at number 31 with the New England Patriots at 4-12. They host the New York Jets. No change at 30 either for the Arizona Cardinals at 4-12. They're home for the Seattle Seahawks. Down 4 spots to number 29, the New York Jets at 6-10. They are in Foxborough this week against the Patriots. New York's other team, the Giants, moved up 1 spot to number 28. They're 5-11, and they'll host the Eagles. No change for the Washington Commanders at number 27. They are 4-12, and they will host the Dallas Cowboys. No change for the LA Chargers, staying at number 26. They're 5-11. They host the Chiefs. Up 3 spots to 25, despite losing, are the Tennessee Titans at 5-11, and they'll host Jacksonville this week. Slipping a spot down to number 24 are the Minnesota Vikings at 7-9. They are in Detroit to face the Lions for the weeks. Number 23, down 1 spot from last week, are the New Orleans Saints. At 8-8, they will host the Falcons. Down 2 spots to number 22 are the 7-9 Las Vegas Raiders. Will close the regular season out hosting the Broncos. No change with the Green Bay Packers at number 21. I didn't write their record in. They are 8-8, and they're hosting the Bears. Speaking of which, they're up 4 spots to number 20. They are 7-9 and playing the Packers at Lambeau this week. No change with the Cincinnati Bengals at number 19. They're 8-8, officially out of the playoffs. They'll close the regular season against the Cleveland Browns. Down 2 spots to number 18 are the Atlanta Falcons at 7-9. They're in Nolens this week to face the Saints. Up 1 spot to number 17, the Denver Broncos at 8-8, also out of the playoff race in the AFC. They're in Vegas this weekend against the Raiders. They're up 1 spot. The Pittsburgh Steelers are also up 1 spot to number 16. They are 9-7, and they finish off the regular season Saturday night in Baltimore. Or rather, Saturday afternoon in Baltimore. Down 3 spots to number 15 are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-8. They're in Charlotte against the Carolina Panthers. Up 1 spot to number 14, the 9-7 Indianapolis Colts home to the Houston Texans on Saturday night. And a big win and in game for both teams. Down 2 spots to number 13 at 8-8 are the Seattle Seahawks. They're in the desert against the Arizona Cardinals. Up 2 spots to number 12 at 9-7 are the Jacksonville Jaguars. They visit the Titans in Nashville. Dropping out of my top 10, my biggest drop this week, falling 6 spots to number 11 are the Philadelphia Eagles at 11-5, who now has a long shot chance of clinching the NFC East. They have to win and the Cowboys would have to lose. The Eagles are playing the Giants in New York, by the way. Into my top 10, no change for the Rams at number 10, 9-7 record. They're in San Francisco. Up 4 spots to number 9, the Houston Texans at 9-7. They play Saturday night at Indianapolis. No change with the Detroit Lions at number 8 at 11-5. They host the Minnesota Vikings. Number 2 seed still in play for Detroit, but I think it's highly unlikely they make it that high. Up 2 spots to number 7, the Cleveland Browns at 11-5. They're locked into the 5 seed in the AFC. They play the Bengals in Cincinnati in the Battle of Ohio Part 2. Falling 3 spots to number 6, the Miami Dolphins at 11-5, and a winner-take-all game for the AFC East against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. Number 5, up 1 spot from last week, the Kansas City Chiefs at 10-6. They're in LA against the Chargers in Easton Stick. Up 3 spots to number 4 at 11-5, the Dallas Cowboys at Washington against the Commanders. They win this game, the NFC East title, and the number 2 seed in the conference is theirs. Up 1 spot to number 3 at 10-6 are the Buffalo Bills. Again, playing that winner-take-all AFC East division game in Miami on Sunday night. And no change with the San Francisco 49ers at number 2 with a 12-4 record. They host the Rams. And no change with my number 1 team, once again, the Baltimore Ravens at 13-3. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday. Okay, now we're going to go take a look at the latest playoff races in the National Football League as we go into Week 18, the regular season finale. It'll take a second because I just clicked the page. Here we go. All right. We're going to start, as always, with the AFC. All right. In the number 1 spot and locked into it, clinching home field in the AFC is the Baltimore Ravens at 13-3. 3-2 versus the North, 8-3 in the AFC. 543 strength of schedule, 529 strength of victory. In the number 2 spot in the playoffs are the Miami Dolphins at 11-5, 4-1 versus the East, 7-4 in the AFC. 434 strength of schedule, 352 strength of victory. The 3 seed and locking up the AFC West for the 8th year in a row, the Kansas City Chiefs at 10-6. 3-2 versus the West, 8-3 in the AFC. 496 strength of schedule, 450 strength of victory. At number 4 and still not in the playoffs at the present time, the Jacksonville Jaguars, leaders of the AFC South based on all the tiebreakers. They are 9-7, 4-1 versus the South, 6-5 in the AFC. 543 strength of schedule, 472 strength of victory. Jackson wins the tiebreaker over both Indianapolis and Houston based on head-to-head winning percentage. All right, The number 5 seed has already punched their ticket to the postseason party, and that's the Cleveland Browns at 11-5. 3-2 versus the North, 8-3 in the AFC, 539 strength of schedule, 517 strength of victory. The Buffalo Bills sit in the 6th spot at 10-6. 3-2 versus the East, 6-5 in the AFC, 457 strength of schedule, 444 strength of victory. In the 7th and final spot as of right now are the Indianapolis Colts, 9-7 overall, 3-2 versus the South, 7-4 in the AFC. 480 strength of schedule, 431 strength of victory. Indianapolis wins the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based on head-to-head winning percentage. The divisional tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Houston. Indianapolis wins the tiebreaker over Houston based on head-to-head winning percentage. So this drops the Houston Texans to number 8. They're 9-7 as well. 3-2 versus the South, 6-5 in the AFC. 473 strength of schedule, 444 strength of victory. Houston wins the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based on head-to-head winning percentage. That brings us to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 9. 4-1. They are 9-7 overall, 4-1 in the AFC North, 6-5 overall in the AFC as a whole. 527 strength of schedule, 535 strength of victory. The rest of the teams in the AFC have been eliminated from contention. The 10 seed is the Denver Broncos at 8-8. 3-2 versus the West, 5-6 in the AFC. 488 strength of schedule, 492 strength of victory. I'll read that tiebreaker in a second. The Cincinnati Bengals are number 11 at 8-8. 0-5 versus the North, 3-8 in the AFC. 574 strength of schedule, 531 strength of victory. Denver wins the tiebreaker over Cincinnati based on best win percentage in conference games. Number 12 is the Las Vegas Raiders, officially eliminated at 7-9. 3-2 in the West, 5-6 in the AFC, 488 strength of schedule, 411 strength of victory. Number 13 is the New York Jets, 6-10. 1-4 versus the East, 3-8 in the AFC, 523 strength of schedule, 490 strength of victory. Number 14 is the Tennessee Titans at 5-11. 0-5 in the South, 3-8 in the AFC, 527 strength of schedule, 413 strength of victory. The Los Angeles Chargers at 15 are also 5-11. 1-4 versus the West, 3-8 versus the AFC. 520 strength of schedule, and 388 strength of victory. Tennessee wins the tiebreaker over LA based on head-to-head win percentage. At the bottom of the AFC, you've got the New England Patriots at 4-12. 2-3 versus the East, 4-7 in the AFC. 527 strength of schedule, which is the same as the Titans, and 516 strength of victory. All right, so that's the AFC. Now let's turn our attention to the NFC as we wrap things up here. The San Francisco 49ers lock up the number 1 spot in the conference at 12-4. 5-0 versus the West, 10-1 in the NFC. 504 strength of schedule, 469 strength of victory. The Dallas Cowboys are the number 2 seed at 11-5. 4-1 versus the East, 8-3 in the conference. 461 strength of schedule, 398 strength of victory. Dallas wins the tiebreaker over Detroit based on head-to-head win percentage. That brings us to the Detroit Lions, the NFC North champions for 2023. 11-5 record, 3-2 versus the North, 7-4 in the AFC, 484 strength of schedule, 438 strength of victory. Number 4, not clinching a spot yet, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-8. Currently, based on tiebreakers, they're the leaders of the NFC South. 3-2 versus the South and 6-5 in the NFC. 508 strength of schedule, 414 strength of victory. Tampa Bay wins the tiebreaker over New Orleans based on best win percentage in common games. So this has nothing to do with divisional head-to-head. Your wild card spots are as follows. The Philadelphia Eagles are the 5 seed. They're already into the playoffs at 11-5. 4-1 versus the East, 7-4 in the NFC. 484 strength of schedule, 472 strength of victory. Number 6 and also clinching a playoff berth are the Los Angeles Rams at 9-7. 4-1 versus the West, 7-4 in the NFC. 520 strength of schedule, 424 strength of victory. Then you've got 3 teams sitting at 8-8. Based on tiebreakers, the Green Bay Packers would sit in that third and final spot, number 7 overall, at 8-8. And I'll read all 3 of them. The Packers are 3-2 versus the North, 6-5 in the AFC, with a strength of schedule of 473 and a strength of victory of 461. The Seahawks are 1-4 versus the West, 6-5 in the NFC, 531 strength of schedule, 414 strength of victory. And the New Orleans Saints are also at 8-8, 3-2 versus the South, 5-6 in the NFC, 430 strength of schedule, 328 strength of victory. Green Bay wins the tiebreaker over Seattle based on strength of victory. And they win the tiebreaker over New Orleans based on best win percentage in conference games. So that's 2 tiebreakers that the Packers own. Seattle has the tiebreaker over New Orleans based on best win percentage in conference games. Then you have a trio of teams at 7-9 with the Vikings, Bears, and Falcons. And 2 of these teams are still mathematically alive for the playoffs. The Minnesota Vikings are in the 10th spot and still alive at 7-9. 2-3 versus the North, 6-5 in the NFC. Strength of schedule is 486. Strength of victory is 455. The Chicago Bears are 7-9, but they are mathematically eliminated. 2-3 in the North, 6-5 in the NFC, 461 strength of schedule, 375 strength of victory. And at number 12, you got the Atlanta Falcons, who are still mathematically alive, more so for the NFC South than in the wild card. 3-2 versus the South, 4-7 in the NFC, 418 strength of schedule, 446 strength of victory. Minnesota wins the tiebreaker over Atlanta based on head-to-head win percentage. Division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Chicago. Minnesota wins the tiebreaker over Chicago based on best win percentage in common games. And Chicago wins the tiebreaker over Atlanta based on head-to-head win percentage. The remaining teams are all eliminated from contention, including the 13-seeded New York Giants at 5-11. 2-3 versus the East, 4-7 in the NFC. 500 strength of schedule, 300 strength of victory. 14 is the Washington Commanders at 4-12. 0-5 in the East, 2-9 in the NFC, 504 strength of schedule, 359 strength of victory. The Arizona Cardinals sitting at 15, also at 4-12. 0-5 versus the West, 3-8 in the NFC. 566 strength of schedule, 594 strength of victory. Washington wins the tiebreaker over Arizona based on head-to-head win percentage. And sitting at the bottom of the NFC and the bottom of the league overall, the Carolina Panthers at 2-14. 1-4 versus the South, 1-10 versus the NFC. Not good. 520 strength of schedule, 500 strength of victory. And that is the Week 17 edition of the week that was, as we ran through the remaining early games from Sunday afternoon, plus the late games from Sunday afternoon and Sunday Night Football, plus my Week 18 power rankings and the playoff races in both the AFC and NFC heading into the season's final week. How do you think I did on my power rankings? Get at me in the comment section. I'll be back tomorrow with my Week 18 NFL picks, both straight up and against the spread. Hopefully I have another good week as I did this week. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Oh, and Happy New Year. It's 2024. Peace out.